Tell us about what's in the case here, Cynthia.
Well, this is a teapot that I got inspired by a metal teapot that Alice Parrott had, and because the spout was so narrow and it poured so beautifully, and most people just put kind of a juggy nose on it, and then it would spill down its front. But this one does a pretty good job. And the other thing is to just take a little of the glaze off its mouth there, so that it roughs it up a little bit so it doesn't drip.
So talk to us a little bit about the drawing sessions, the Saturday morning drawing sessions.
Well, we did it during the 80s, and it was George's idea, and we had neighbors. We were kind of out in the country there, and we had neighbors who wanted to draw too, so we gathered a bunch of people, and every Saturday we would draw for about 2-3 hours from, sometime in the morning until lunchtime, and we got a model every week, and paid her $20, which she thought was plenty. and that's some of what came of it. And yeah, all these drawings really were done in the 80s, so yeah. And Margot and I were talking because I thought that I learned a lot of that drawing from Albers, but through Jane Slater, marquee slats, about the line, and I did some drawing at Black Mountain, but not, just maybe a couple of classes now and then. But I do think it was Albers influenced then from her. And
would you allocate, say, 10 minutes for each pose, or did it vary, or how did you structure?
We started quick and ended longer.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this one was she just kept moving. So we kept, slowly, but we kept, and that's how and that was really fun to do, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a freeze.
Yeah. Only she wasn't frozen, she just kept moving. And we were trying to figure out the name of a science fiction writer who said, jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. Do you know who that might have been?
No. People with the internet could find.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, get the machinery out.
Them has the internet. Yes. Or one of those phones.
Because I think that's a very good idea.
Yes.
Because people are so afraid to start doing anything, they don't even want to touch the page. And if I draw it light enough, nobody will see it. It'll be fine.
Yes. But that one is it's a freeze, but it's a picture of movement.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a great gal. I still see her. Yeah.
I wanted a clear view to the walls, a table of bare wood, unencumbered by treasure or bric-a-brac. I had thought to make myself a small memorial, a few drawings, poems perhaps, but there was always too much, or not enough. And you, who've never been here, now bump into me at every turn. Back off, my love. Let me clean this up. I'll see you soon enough.
And I was surprised, Alice, to see you come up with these. I didn't know you had these. Brighten up the corners.
A little splash of color.
Yes.
And there's the pig. Oh,
Yeah.
I know that pig. Yes. He's a wonderful pig.
wonderful drawing, but that pig was something else.
It wasn't wonderful.
He went for a friend's ankle, and the friend jumped up on the counter. And when the pig saw what he could accomplish with this sort of behavior, you couldn't stop him. Kids would come over and George would say, "Oh yeah, feed the pig by hand." I said, "George, that pig is not a vegetarian."
I had a fine poem this morning. I took it for a walk, as I usually do. It's healthy for them. Walked it around a cup of tea, a good breakfast, green chili cheese grits with an egg on top. Took it round the cleaning of dishes, making of bed. Gathered up what was needed for a walk to the studio. Picked purslane along the way. It's truly abundant now. I let the poem off the leash, and wouldn't you know, like any wild thing, it was gone. Lifted its leg on that fire hydrant and disappeared.
So what can you tell us about Charles Olson and any sort of impact he might have had on your writing now, or in any poem?
He was very encouraging. I wrote a short piece, and he read it in the class, and he liked it. And he said, "If you'll write 100, this is sort of, I really was sort of afraid to bring him anything, but he said he'd throw us out of class and not have it anymore. We didn't bring work in, so I brought it in, and he liked it, and he said, if you will write 100 of these, I'll get you published." So that was very encouraging, and I think he did, even though he died. I think he got me published. But I feel sort of more attached to Robert Creeley's poetry, and I think his poetry influenced me more than Charles's did.
I know you had a relationship with Creeley and a friendship. Did you also take any classes from him?
I did, but just a couple. When he came, he was, I think somebody like Fielding wrote about it, he was he sort of mumbled in his beard at the end of the hall like this. And if he did say something, we didn't know what he said really. But he did quite a lot of writing when he was there. He was doing writing a book for. That's when he did the book with Dan Rice, and so it had Dan's little paintings in it, drip, 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 and Creeley's little poems, and he was writing. Jonathan Williams it was jargon, so Jonathan Williams was publishing him, and he kept saying, "Come on, finish these poems," and so Creeley was sitting there at night typing out these things and throwing them over his shoulder at Jonathan, and Jonathan was just going, like, that there can't be any good. Published all of them. He thought he should be throwing them in the fire, because it turned out they were all great. We were living down in La Cienega and in New Mexico, and Jonathan came to visit quite often. He'd come with Tom, and they'd stay for a few days, and Jonathan would smoke his cigars, and he came in one time and he said, "George, you have what we all want, international obscurity." George was not happy with that. Yeah, on the vase is wearing shoes.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because one time she came in to model and she was changing her clothes, she was taking them off, and she put, she had green, like lime green sneakers and yellow socks. Or maybe pink, I think yellow though. And she was gonna take them off, of course. And George said, no, don't take them off, that's great. So this great, wonderful naked lady with her shoes and socks. And it looks like there's another poem.
Shall we have it? June 29th, 05. I can find no new words for an image of a marriage falling apart. This one not with a bang, not even a whimper. Walking one day from unlit fire to wonder, is he in the field? When did he say he was going out to buy cigarettes? Yesterday? Last April? Is it 2005? But he never smoked.
That's that Philip Guston.
Oh, yes, that was for Philip Guston, yes. He was a great favorite of George's. And, yeah, I guess they knew each other. So. Was he at Black Mountain?
Very briefly.
Uh-huh.
Very, very briefly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is a Chinese cooker, because it has a funnel inside, so you can do your dumplings in it. And I think that's my chop, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's inscribed for George and Cynthia, old friends, the most. With love, Robert.
Uh-huh. Nice. And I guess Dan didn't write it. Well, I guess we had Robert sign it later,
And who did
right?
the drawing?
Dan Rice.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to have a look at that.
Here's one more poem.
a poem.
And it's potter to poet to painter, centering, she wrote, in pottery, poetry, and the person, earth, planter on 1 foot, balancing, centered, 1 foot to the wheel, turning, 2 feet on the ground, planting, a hand to the paint, to the canvas, painting.
Oh, I remember that fellow. Well, Alice, where did you find all these pictures?
Remember all those sketchbooks we boxed up and shipped?
I guess I do, yeah.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I guess, wow. I'm impressed. Who is this person?